Hello, everybody. It's Little. We have another super. That's another super evolution video to reveal to show you guys. This time, we got Super Espeon, aka Pearl. Yeah, we got Beauty this time. We got Super Espeon. Now, not for her. Of course, she's another female. Clearly, obviously, one of the 7 girls. But here's an interesting fact about Super Espeon. She's actually the oldest among the 9 members. You thought Super Glaceon lastly was the oldest. Ashley Espeon was the firstborn. Now Glaceon is very well, now Super Glaceon is very close, but Espeon is the one that came. She was the first Eevee. You thought that. Nope. She is the oldest. But let me mind you real fast then, because she's just the oldest and Super Eevee being the youngest. Their age gap isn't really that great. They're actually just seconds apart, meaning that between Super Espeon and Super Eevee, they're only like about a minute apart in age, so it don't really even matter. But with her being the oldest, she's pretty much second. She's pretty much second in command of the She's pretty much second in command of the among the family without me around. She acts as the leader, which is pretty ironic because when you think Evolution Squad, yeah, some Pearl, the original Pearl was like that. Yeah, of course her size. I suspect that she's enormous. In fact, she's actually one of the tallest in terms of how high they are at the head. Now, all the super evolutions are all the evolved ones are the same height at their shoulder, which is basically Liger height, like at least 4.5 feet at the shoulder. But when it comes to their how tall they can stand at their head, wherever they're standing or sitting, they get really high. Super Espeon is over 5.5 feet tall. She weighs 710 pounds and 12 feet long. You may notice that compared to Super Flareon from before, who weighs 920 pounds. Yeah, Super Espeon is a little lighter compared to the other members. Well, most of the other members, because her body, as expected being Espeon, her body is more slender and not that much filled with fur. I mean, nevertheless, she's muscular and huge, so she's still 710 pounds is still dang heavy. She's still massive. As for levels, she's like now 98. Her main attacks being Psychic, Slate, Attract, and Shadow Ball. Yeah, Shadow Ball. Yeah, she got an answer for the dark types, like Umbreon, for example. So yeah, with Super Espeon being she is one of the more powerful members of the Super Evolutions for obvious reasons. And when it comes against me, she's formidable, because you all eventually find out. Because being a Psychic type, she's not to be messed with. But the rest of the details will be explained in the video description as usual. Alright, now I'm going to tell you what's my personal opinion about Espeon. Espeon is a pretty Espeon's a pretty interesting evolution for me to think about because the way it looks like well, Espeon looks like a cat, and because I love cats, it's pretty I always find this one to be a fascinating one. It looks like a magic cat, and the one in my store being so enormous. My character calls her the biggest cat I've ever seen in my life. Which Super Espeon Pearl will always laugh about because just technically it's a Pokemon and being an evolved Eevee. But because the super evolutions are as smart as humans and they know what they're doing, she doesn't mind pretending to be a cat just for fun. But the old day the one when Gen 2 first came out during the old Silver Crystal days. When I first saw Espeon, I thought it was a really interesting evolution because just of course look like a cat because it was a new elegant member because remember before then it was just reborn, so now when this came I was like, ooh, there's another beautiful one here. And in fact, this is actually my favorite Gen 2 evolution. Now, when it comes to like how ranked it really is, I had no idea about right now, but it is my favorite Gen 2 evolution. Like, I definitely like this one. That's because I think it's beautiful. It looks like a nice cat. It looks like a luxurious beast. How I explain it. But yeah. She looked like she was saying meow. Now, an interesting fact is, Super Espeon is actually one of the easiest evolutions for me to draw because there isn't much to show about because her body is slender and there's not much fur. The only thing that's kind of tricky is just the ears, but there really isn't much else. So maybe that full tail. So yeah, when it comes to my slowest Super Espeon, she's the oldest. She's a big cat-like creature, and she's pretty much the brains of the members. Just so you can see herself is very much based on the original Pearl from Evelyn Slut. Hence her nickname. But of course, that's what ever. But it's kind of funny because my character does get along with Pearl really well because being an evolution, that comes from friendship, high friendship, and her case comes from the daytime. But I do find her design to be pretty I do find Espeon's design to be pretty interesting because it is a pretty drastic change from Eevee, from a brown fluffy fox cat into a big purple. No, not purple. Like a pale pale violet cat looking Pokemon. So, yep. So this is Super Espeon. Well, that's it, guys. Check out the description for the full detail of this member. So see you next time. Have a nice day. Have fun.